Right, so the last section of the male reproductive system is going to be letter D, testosterone. And this is the male hormone that is responsible for not only all the male sexual characteristics, such as a deeper voice than females, body hair, more muscle mass, etc., but also for the rate of sperm production. Right? So testosterone is the hormone that controls how much sperm production is being stimulated. And this is basically being controlled by the brain, okay, in a structure called the hypothalamus. So we're going to go in through this model. This is called a negative feedback model, which basically is your kind of regulation or your thermostat of how much testosterone is being produced by the testes, specifically the interstitial cells, right? So if your testosterone levels are too low, that's going to kick the brain, specifically the hypothalamus, into overdrive to increase testosterone levels. Once testosterone levels are high enough or adequate, then that is going to inhibit or prevent any further testosterone production by the hypothalamus. All right, so let's get started at the top of this chart. So the hypothalamus, which is located inside of the brain, is going to release a hormone called GnRH. And it only releases this hormone, GnRH, which stands for gonadotropin releasing hormone. It only releases this in response to low testosterone levels. If testosterone levels are low, that means sperm production has been stalled or it's too low. All right, so the testosterone levels need to get up in order to stimulate sperm production. So when testosterone levels are low, the hypothalamus releases GnRH. This hormone will then act directly onto the anterior pituitary gland. This is also a structure associated with the brain. It hangs directly off of the hypothalamus, and this is kind of like your master endocrine gland. So the anterior pituitary gland produces a number of hormones that are associated with growth, associated with metabolism, as well as sexual hormone production. So, two of the hormones produced from the anterior pituitary gland include LH, which is shorthand for luteinizing hormone, and FSH, shorthand for follicle stimulating hormone. These hormones produced and released from the anterior pituitary gland travel through the circulatory system and go directly to the seminiferous tubules, okay? They act on the two major cell types of the seminiferous tubules, including that Leydig cell, also known as the interstitial cell, and the Sertoli cell, all right? These are the two major cell types located within the testes, all right? So if we follow this leg of the hormone release down here, the luteinizing hormone, LH, specifically acts on the interstitial cells located in the testes. The luteinizing hormone will stimulate the interstitial cells, or the Leydig cells, to directly produce testosterone. This testosterone will in turn stimulate sperm production. All right. The other leg of this hormone chart, the FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone, is released from the anterior pituitary gland and acts on those Sertoli cells. Those Sertoli cells are the support cells for sperm production. The Sertoli cells are going to release a hormone called inhibin. Inhibin also will help to stimulate sperm production, all right? So once these two hormones, which are created by the support cells inside of the testes, once these two hormones are at a sufficient enough concentration to stimulate sperm production, those levels of this, those levels of hormone are going to feed back through the circulatory system back to the hypothalamus. And it's telling the brain, it's telling the hypothalamus, hey, we have enough of this sperm in production to meet requirements. You don't need to make any more hormones to help stimulate the production of testosterone and inhibin, all right? So this is your negative feedback, All right, so as the levels of testosterone and inhibin rise, those concentrations are going to act on the hypothalamus to inhibit any further release of gonadotropin releasing hormone, or GnRH, right? So that's why you see this in red. It is going to inhibit, all right? However, once these levels of hormones start to drop and sperm production decreases, that is then the green light for the hypothalamus to start releasing the GnRH, which in turn will go all the way down this entire chart to then increase the production of testosterone and inhibin. So that's how you have that balance. That's how you have the up and the down, or that thermostatic regulation of testosterone and inhibin production, okay? It all starts in the hypothalamus. GnRH is released from the hypothalamus, which acts on the anterior pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, in turn, releases luteinizing hormone, which will indirectly stimulate testosterone production. And the pituitary gland also releases follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, which indirectly produces inhibin. These hormones will both act to increase sperm production. Once these hormones are within a normal concentration and sperm production is at its optimal level, it will then feed back to the hypothalamus to stop or inhibit any further production of GnRH, thereby decreasing those levels of hormones. Right. So now that we understand the regulation, the hormonal regulation of sperm production, that is going to complete the male reproductive system. So now we're going to be moving on to Roman numeral number 3, which is the female reproductive anatomy.